Hello guys. Welcome back to the Unite Pieces channel. Today, we are going to tell you the storyline of the 2019 action thriller movie starring veteran actor Liam Neeson, titled Cold Pursuit. The movie focuses on an elderly man named Nels Coxman, a snow removal officer in a small town, who lives a quiet life with his wife and child. But one day, tragedy strikes when their son is killed by a drug cartel. Despite being old and frail, it turns out that he can take out the drug mafia and reveal a fact. So without further ado, let's get straight to the video. At the beginning of the movie, we are introduced to an old man named Nels Coxman, who works as a snowplow driver in the town of Keogh, Colorado. Nels lives with his wife Grace and a son named Kyle. Nels is shown to be very fond of Kyle, his only child. The next day, Nels attends an event organized by his company, where he receives an award as a model employee. At the same time, Kyle could not accompany Nels because he was busy working. After finishing his work, and preparing to go home, he was suddenly stopped and kidnapped by two unknown men. They forced Kyle into their car. Inside the car, Kyle was still confused about what he had done. Dante, Kyle's friend, was also seen in the car, being held down beside him. The two strangers then injected a substance into Kyle's body, which caused him to lose consciousness. Witnessing this, Dante tries to break free by jumping from the car, and eventually manages to escape. In the morning, the two men took Kyle to a park, sat him on a park bench and put sunglasses on him to make him look like he was sitting relaxed. After they left, it was discovered that Kyle had died from the substance injected the previous day. Shortly after, Grace rushed to Nels, and informed him that the hospital had just called and broke the news that their son, Kyle, had passed away. Upon arrival, despite seeing the body, Nels still couldn't believe that his beloved son was dead. Here, the doctor explained that Kyle died of a drug overdose, but Nels, who knew his son well, did not believe that Kyle had taken drugs. A few days later, Nels went to his armory. Nels, who was still depressed over his son's death, thought about ending his own life with his firearm. However, Dante suddenly arrives and prevents him from doing so. Dante, burdened with guilt over Kyle's death, apologized and confessed everything. Previously, Dante had stolen a bag containing narcotics and was caught by two previous perpetrators. During interrogation, Dante, distressed and frightened, accused Kyle, who happened to be present at the scene, when in fact, Kyle had no knowledge of the narcotics. Because of this, Kyle was arrested, and they smothered him with drugs to make sure he died. Hearing this, Nels becomes furious and strangles Dante. Dante revealed that the person behind him was named Speedo. After getting this information, Nels immediately went to a nightclub, a place used for drug transactions. Upon arrival, Nels went in and met Speedo's henchmen, saying that he wanted to buy drugs from Speedo, until finally he was taken by one of Speedo's henchmen to meet him. After the meeting, Nels was guided to a place for the transaction, but on the way, Nels immediately attacked Speedo until he was beaten. When Speedo was already on the verge of death, Nels took him into the car for interrogation. Here, Nels revealed that he was the father of the young man Speedo had killed the day before. Speedo, who was terrified, confessed that he was ordered by someone named Limbo. Upon learning this information, Nels immediately kills Speedo without mercy. The scene shifted to a man named Trevor, who was known to be a big drug kingpin in the city. He received news that one of his accomplices, Speedo, had been killed. However, he doesn't seem too concerned about this news. Back to Nels, upon returning home, he realizes that his wife is still depressed due to Kyle's death. Seeing this, Nels then goes to the warehouse and prepares weapons to finish off Limbo, the person who ordered Speedo to kill his son. Nels visited a clothing store that Limbo was informed was there. As it turned out, the owner of the shop was Limbo. Limbo, who had a bad feeling, immediately took a gun under the table to shoot Nels. Unfortunately, before Limbo could shoot, Nels managed to catch him. Nels tortured Limbo until he surrendered. Then Nels asked if it was true that Speedo was working for Limbo. After being painfully tortured, Limbo admitted that he was also ordered by someone named Santa, who lived near the airport. After getting this information, Nels ruthlessly kills Limbo, and prepares to target Santa. On the other hand, Trevor is seen fighting with his ex-wife over the custody of their child. This is due to the custody battle they had. Trevor stated that he would do anything to get custody of his child. Turning to Nels, he was seen heading to an area near the airport to look for Santa. Upon arrival, Nels sees Santa about to leave by car. Nels followed Santa using his snowplow truck. Nels then cut Santa's path to stop his car. Santa, who thought Nels had come to rob him, offered him money. However, without warning, Nels quickly attacked Santa. Nels pulled Santa out of the car and continued to beat him. Nels then pulled out a gun and asked if Santa was the one who ordered Limbo to kill Kyle. Santa, in his final moments, revealed that the mastermind behind all this was Trevor. As before, Nels also kills Santa. After that, Nels went to see his friend, Brock Wingman Coxman. Nels went to Brock because he knew that Brock had worked for Trevor's father. Nels asked Brock how to defeat Trevor. Brock replied that it was unlikely to catch Trevor, as he had many henchmen and tight security. Brock suggested that Nels hire a hitman. On the other hand, Trevor received news that 3 of his men had been killed. Furious and convinced that rival gangster White Bull is responsible for these deaths, Trevor immediately takes action. It should be noted that there are actually 2 main crime bosses in the city. Trevor rules the west, while White Bull rules the east. Trevor then ordered some of his men to kidnap White Bull's only child, in order to extract him. Long story short, Trevor's men managed to kidnap White Bull's son. Trevor wasted no time in killing White Bull's son, under the pretext of avenging the deaths of 3 of his men. Afterwards, he hung the child's body on a road sign as a message to White Bull. A few days later, White Bull, who had just learned about the murder of his son, questioned why Trevor would do such a thing. White Bull, who felt he had no problem with Trevor, was determined to take revenge on him, as he had violated the territory agreement. Back to Nels, he is now with a hitman recommended by his friend. A wary Nels then spoke to the hitman, using the name Coxman, ordering him to take out Trevor, and would pay him when he was done. Shortly after, the hitman came to Trevor's place. However, it turned out that the hitman was one of Trevor's accomplices. He told Trevor that he was ordered by someone named Coxman to kill him. Upon learning this, Trevor remembered someone who had worked with his father, and used the last name Coxman. Trevor immediately goes to see Brock, suspecting that Brock Coxman is the one who ordered the hitman. Later, Trevor takes Brock to a location under the pretense of giving him a job. However, on the way, Trevor's henchman kills Brock, who was at the funeral, realized that Trevor was the one who killed Brock. After killing Brock, Trevor now intends to apologize to White Bull for killing his son, and correct the misunderstanding. Trevor revealed that it was not White Bull who killed his 3 men, but Brock. When one of Trevor's henchmen advised him not to apologize because it would be useless. Sadistically, Trevor shot and killed his henchman for daring to give him advice. After that, Trevor ordered his other henchman to hand over the head of the henchman he had just killed to White Bull. Trevor did this as a form of apology for the death of White Bull's son. However, White Bull replied that a son must be paid with a son, and then he killed Trevor's henchman. Back to Nels, he finally takes the bold step of secretly visiting Trevor's house to find a way to eliminate him. From a distance, Nels sees several people guarding Trevor's house. Nels then sees a school address sticker on the window of Trevor's car, and that's when Nels learns that Trevor actually has a child who is still in school, and he sees an opportunity for revenge. The scene moves to the school, where White Bull's henchmen are already there to kidnap Trevor's child. Unfortunately for them, Nels defeats them and takes Trevor's son away in a van. When White Bull's henchmen saw this, they immediately gave chase. Meanwhile, Trevor learns that his son has been kidnapped and brings the school security guard to his house to inquire about the incident. Through CCTV footage, the security guard identifies the identity and residence of the person responsible, Nels Coxman, who turns out to be a former Special Forces soldier who now works as a snowplow driver. Soon, Trevor and his men rushed towards Nels' residence. Nels seemed prepared for their arrival, but when he tried to shoot Trevor, he was held at gunpoint by Trevor's men from behind. They surrounded Nels, and as they were about to execute him, White Bull's group suddenly arrived and launched an attack on Trevor's gang, which led to a shootout. Seeing many of his men fall, Trevor tried to escape in a car, but Nels used a tractor to overturn a tree, trapping Trevor's car and making it immobile. Later, White Bull arrives from the front and shoots Trevor dead. After Nels deemed his revenge fulfilled, he left with his snowplow. However, White Bull suddenly appears, pointing a gun, but instead of being hostile, he asks Nels for a ride. They finally leave together, and the movie ends. The movie Cold Pursuit largely shows the consequences of revenge, which can become an endless chain. The movie also shows us how much love parents have for their children in seeking justice.